Well, hello, I'm Matt Williamson. How's everyone doing? Happy 4th of July to all. Hope you have a wonderful, patriotic day. Safe. Have a couple beverages, a couple hot dogs, whatever it is you do. We used to always hit the Brentwood Parade here in the South Hills. Kind of outgrew that, but there's about 50 years in a row we went. But I'm not sure what my plans are today. There's been some talk of getting on a friend's boat and floating under the fireworks at the point. That's not so bad. We did that last year. That's awesome. I might just lay low. Don't know. But today is Mailbag Day. And as usual, you guys have given me great questions, great topics. So let's just dig right in. Erminio asks, why have we re-signed Markus Golden? Wish I had a better answer for you. I'm not sure. So, as the Godfathers taught us, let's think as those around us think. Why might the Steelers not? Now, I still think there's a really good possibility he does play for the Steelers this year. But what could possibly hinder them? He played quite well last year. I thought he was a very pleasant surprise and did exactly what you wanted. And that's been a weak area before that. Seasons leading in there, the third, fourth edge guy. Quality player, tough against the run, factors in the passing game, certainly can hold down the fort if one of the starters is out / rotate in. Now, they may disagree on money. That's the low-hanging fruit to answer this question. He thinks, hey, I played so well, I want $1 million raise, $2 million raise. And they say, how about we give you a $50,000 or a $500,000 raise? Who knows? The one thing I can think of from a Steeler perspective is these new kickoff rules / special teams. Golden doesn't really help on special teams. But so do you want that extra spot? Like that's the one roster spot I think is still to be determined. Like I think they're going to keep 4 edge guys and there's 3 that are making the team. And maybe there's somebody else on the team I need to do more homework on. Obviously they have more than 3 edge guys coming to camp that they adore. And we might get to camp and I might watch them and I might be telling you like, wow, they have a diamond in the rough here and he's really good. That's possible, hopefully. But I think they look at Golden potentially and say, yeah, you don't help us on teams, though. Teams are more important now than ever. Special teams, of course. But with this new kickoff rule, which, Killebrew even called something like defending a giant wide zone play, would someone like Golden that's played more defense than teams be good on kickoff coverage now? I don't know. I'm reaching a little bit because I don't have a good answer for this. I think when it's all said and done, he will be a Steeler. I see no reason not to. So what if it's his point of view? Well, maybe it's never reached out. Maybe there's 4 or 5 other teams I'm interested in. Maybe one of them's my hometown team or my favorite coach from before that are still interested in me and still been in contact. I noticed the Steelers haven't made any move that would prohibit me from going back. Or you wonder, does he look at it and say, I practiced with Herbig every day. I'm not going to be the 3. I'm going to be the 4. And he's flat out better than me. Which is possible, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't come back. But he might look at it like, if I'm the 4 on game day and I don't play on special teams, and they may say it the same way, what value do you really have other than depth? I would still sleep much better at night if he was on board and just be done there. You know what I mean? And really have 4 quality edge defenders there. I hope it happens. They obviously have the money to do it. And I understand there's other things going on, but why not just add that piece and be done? I don't have a great answer for you, Erminio, but I think that both teams might have a little trepidation. Both sides might have a little trepidation about it. Along those lines, Josiah Jones asks, if Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, Landon Roberts, and Cole Holcomb are all healthy, which guy do you think would be that best 4th edge spot behind Nick Herbig? Seems like a waste to have 2 or 3 of these guys on the bench. I agree with a lot of that, but that doesn't mean you ask them to do things that they're not good at. I'd rather have Golden than all of them on 1st and 10 against the Ravens, you know what I mean, as an edge guy. Now, I think there's still a chance that if you get into camp and all those guys are healthy and doing great, you might flip one of them. You're not going to flip Queen. You're not going to flip Wilson. Roberts sure proved to be such an important player. Not that Holcomb didn't, but I think maybe Holcomb could get you something in return free up a little cap space. A team could certainly use them, but I really like all four of these guys. I don't necessarily want to do that. Now, back to what you were asking. We talked about this before. In terms of alignment, I would say Wilson has probably done the most of it. Playing on the line of scrimmage, over a tight end, on the outside shoulder of a tackle. He did a fair amount of that in college from what I've seen. All of them are good rushing the passer, though. And I would say especially Queen and Wilson. Roberts is more of just a downhill, whatever's in his way, blow it apart. But he's a pretty good pass rusher, too. And Holcomb's not lacking. I think Roberts, in terms of who would I ask to hold that edge at the point of attack in the run game? And if I was forced to emergency situation, put one of these guys on the edge, maybe only kept 3. I don't know, that seems crazy, but anyway. Or, your 4th guy's inactive one day and a couple guys get hurt. I would think Roberts would be my best on the line of scrimmage run defender, funnel everything into the inside linebackers. But really, I don't think they're looking at any of these guys, as far as I know, and nor would I, as also outside players. And if you have 4, I think you could probably get a pretty nice pick for Holcomb. Decent pick. I mean, if he proves to be healthy. Or the other thing I keep throwing out there is, everyone thinks about the Steelers as a 3-4. Well, think of it as a 4-man front that's in nickel or dime often. But what if you saw a 4-3? I mean, you had Hayward and Benton on the inside, Highsmith and Watt on the outside, and then kind of an old school steel curtain 3-man linebacker group. I don't think that's a terrible front 7. You could play old school 4-3 roles. You could do a lot of different things with it. I hope that's something we see experimented with in Latrobe, which, by the way, is only 3 weeks away. So I have told you about Bet Online. They're your number one source for all your summer sports, from Major League Baseball, golf, and so many more. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right. Ben Cohen has 2 different questions, both of which are good. How do you view Connor Hayward's role on this offense? He's such a unique build player. I wonder what roles he'd be most effective in. I've been giving this some thought too. Now, it's hard to argue that he's one of your 5 best skill players. So in some ways, if he's out there, somebody better than him at football across the board is on the bench. Okay, doesn't mean he shouldn't be part of the offense, because I do agree that he's unique in terms of build and skills. And I wonder, could he be a use check move fullback who's a good enough blocker, a really good receiver, either aligned as an H-back or out of the backfield or from tight end or the slot? He can block in the run game. He can block downfield in screens and quick hitters and things like that. I just think Arthur Smith probably has a plan for him, because they've had a lot of H-backs, fullbacks that aren't Tim Lester, blow your face up, just come downhill. And I think Hayward can do all those things. The problem with some of these players, and I'm not even saying this is the case for him, is some of these guys, offense or defense, where you start saying, man, he can do this, he can do this, he can do this, he can do this. Yeah, but he's the 3rd best on your team at every one of them. You know what I mean? Like, jack of all trade, master of none type. Like, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Isaiah Simmons, who was, I think, the 9th pick in the draft. Cardinals. Now he's a Giant from Clemson. Super talented, great tester. He can play deep middle. He can play the slot. He can play linebacker. Yeah, but you got to do one thing that, he didn't do any of them well enough. Like, okay, he shows up, but when do I put him out there and trust him to do something better than the guy on the bench behind him? So that is something to do with Hayward. He's also a really good special teamer. But I bet there's a plan. He's so much different. You can hand him the ball here and there. I think you got to look at him more like a move modern day fullback. So Ben also asks, do you think Arthur Smith will be better suited to evaluate the quarterback competition, even if Mike T has the final say? Well, Mike T has the final say. I mean, I'm just telling you. I mean, no coordinator or assistant coach is going to tell the Steelers who their starting quarterback is other than Mike Tomlin, which that doesn't mean he doesn't listen to opinions. I'm sure he does. I'm sure of it. But why I picked this question was just looking at Arthur Smith's history. I mean, the quarterbacks that he's been given or helped contribute to bring in, and I can't speak to how much say he's had in that matter, people don't remember this, but Ryan Tannehill looked like a bust after being drafted in the first round by Miami and got traded to Tennessee for like a 5th round pick. I mean, it was kind of like a Pickett deal or like all these guys that got traded this past year, Mac Jones, got traded for nothing. Just get him out of here and move on. And he turned him into one of the most productive quarterbacks in the league, so there's pedigree there, but it wasn't like Tannehill was a good player. And it wasn't like they gave up the farm to go get Trey Lance because Arthur Smith told them to and give them tons of 1st round picks. It was a minimal investment. That's why I'm going to keep saying this. Then he goes to Atlanta, inherits end of career Matt Ryan, which was worse than end of career Ben Roethlisberger. And they brought in some journeyman type guys, backups, but the only guy they drafted of note is Desmond Ridder, who you could say Arthur Smith has no clue how to evaluate talent because they drafted Ridder and he stinks. But how many 3rd round picks make it? And again, no investment whatsoever. So I really don't know. He could be the greatest quarterback evaluator ever, and it's just never worked out for him to take his guy or have the influence to trade up to get his guy. Or he might be awful at it. I don't know. I mean, I know he's gotten a lot out of guys that were in not so great situations, and he's had really bad quarterbacks in Atlanta, really bad, like as bad or worse than what was here this whole time. So I'm not avoiding this question, but in terms of coordinator head coaches that have been around and have as much to go off of as Arthur Smith does, his take or view or scouting process for quarterbacks is as mysterious to me as anyone's. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even 100% sure what he wants in the quarterback position. Mobility is obviously important. Ball fakes, get the ball out quicker, throw over the middle, play action. But in terms of evaluating the quarterback position, I don't know exactly. I mean, there's not much to go off of. So it's best I can answer that question. Sorry. Steeler Steve asks, I keep hearing how good this defense is going to be. They've definitely made a few nice additions. Still, the defensive line worries me. 2 talented veterans who have recent injury histories and a second-year guy who should make the leap this season. Outside of that, it looks thin. Agree. Sorta. I said this a lot during draft time, mostly because this defensive line class, the rookies to be, was really weak. The 300-pounders. There wasn't a lot to pick from there. But I said a lot going into this draft. And people who know me, when in doubt, I'll draft D-line. That includes edge guys, but I'm not sure what to take. Give me D-line. Always defer to D-line. I want hockey lines like Georgia and Alabama throws out of 5 stars. Like if I was in charge of a team, my cap allocation would be very high on defensive linemen, as would my draft picks, even when I don't need one, like the Eagles. But I often said going into this draft, it might cost me, but I think the move is to kind of punt, wait till next year to really get the quote Cam replacement, because I don't see many options. And I don't like to look too far ahead, but it sure looks like this upcoming draft is really, really good with defensive big men. Again, don't get too excited about that. I told you about running backs also being good, but both look like they're excellent. But no, I do think, Steeler Steve, that if something were to derail the defense, not Watt missing the year or, crazy things, it would be Cam never gets it back. Ogunjobi is what he is / injured. Benton's good, but it's not enough. And as the season goes along, the Leals and Loudermilks and rookies and whatnot just can't be out there enough. I mean, I could absolutely paint that picture. And no one likes to look at the league or their favorite team through that lens now. I mean, I always talk about this. It's 4th of July. Everyone's happy. It's time of eternal optimism, you know. But good GMs, which I think the Steelers have, and try to think as a GM, look at things like what could really derail things. And I could absolutely write the story of defensive tackle, let's call it all a group as one, isn't what we thought it was going to be. And quarterback aside, I could easily write the story that when we're doing team needs the day after the Steelers are eliminated, D tackle could be number one. You know, it looks like receiver, quarterback, of course, are going to be corner. But I could absolutely say, man, I think in the first round, Steelers are going to take a defensive tackle. I mean, I don't think that's crazy at all to say, what is it, July now, to have that conversation in early April or something that we all might be like, yeah, they're going to take best defensive lineman available. I hope it doesn't get that dire. And I do have faith in Cam. I have great faith in Benton. I don't have a lot of faith in Ogunjobi. And as you said, depth is okay, not great. Kind of like we opened the show. I thought losing Amani Watts was significant, but the guys they replaced him with are also of that ilk, you know, basically. I mean, they're okay. But I thought Watts was a quality player for them, much like Golden. So that's what I got. Great questions as always. And I will bring you one more podcast for Friday. And I guess that's it for the week. See you.